Text, Office of Housing Counseling, Promoting Community, Driving Change, 2024 Community Conference. Coffee Conversations, Adrianne Todman. Tuesday, September 17th, 12 o'clock to 12:30 p.m. EDT. In a collage of photos, various people smile and talk. The speaker, David Berenbaum, appears in a picture-in-picture in the upper right corner.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the second session of our National Community Conference. I know many of you joined us for my opening remarks. I want to thank everyone who shared their thoughts about our conference title. What does promoting community driving change mean to you? We'll follow up with this and share the entire slide later with you, but your feedback was just wonderful and really went to our hearts. Empowerment, community, advocacy, change, togetherness, stability, opportunity, inclusion, development, and so many more thoughts. Thank you, everyone, for all of your feedback into that first session. So now it's my honor to welcome HUD Acting Secretary Adrianne Todman to the Office of Housing Counseling 2024 Community Conference. This is the Acting Secretary's second appearance at our virtual Housing Counseling Conference. She first appeared back in 2021 with us, and she helped kick off that year's event as well. As you all know, she has an extensive background in housing and community development, and has held several positions at HUD, including Deputy Secretary prior to assuming her current role. I'll put it candidly, Acting Secretary Todman is a high-impact leader who is committed to HUD's mission, who firmly believes that we have a responsibility to confront housing insecurity, increase and preserve the nation's housing supply, eliminate housing discrimination, and support and realize community resiliency. One only needs to look at HUD's sweeping accomplishments under her leadership to see the truth of this statement. Madam Acting Secretary, welcome, and thank you for all that you do to make a difference in the lives of our neighbors each and every day.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me back. 2021 just seems like a couple lifetimes ago. So it's great to be able to be back with this group and to be here with you, David.
Thank you so much. And, our groups, our housing counselors, their executives, all our colleagues in housing finance and, of course, real estate, people are very focused on some of the challenges right now to realize home ownership or to sustain rental housing. I'm curious about some of your thoughts with regard to affordable housing and HUD's role and impact.
Certainly, absolutely. As you mentioned, I have been in and around the housing community for several decades now. And I will say that what brings me so much hope about everything that you all are talking about and we'll be talking about and what we'll be talking about, David, is the level of intentionality and focus right now on the collective impact we all have to have in making sure that we're improving the housing condition for people, particularly affordability.
Adrianne Todman, David Berenbaum and ASL interpreter, lend and appear in a video chat.
And so all the things that we are doing here at the national level is great, but I've been a practitioner, I've worked in local government. I know the real impact really happens with the efforts that all of you are bringing to the table. And what are those efforts? I have these shovels behind me, and I've had them here behind me since I got back here at HUD in June of 2021, because for me, it's important to signal not just the work that we've done to build, but all the work we need to do to continue to build, to make sure that we have the housing supply that we need to help renters, but also folks who are trying to enter homeownership for the first time and really can't find that right home. But I know we have to get people prepared for that step. And a lot of that comes on the shoulders of the work that you all do to provide the expert advice that you give to whether it's a first-time homeowner or somebody who's an existing homeowner and perhaps has some struggles and some challenges. So I will say that, HUD's reach is broad, but we are only successful if you all are empowered and we're able to resource the great work that you all are doing locally and at the state level.
Thank you. And I know that our agencies, and we have several thousand of our executives, housing counselors, and others joining us today, our practitioners, so to speak, are committed to realizing HUD's mission. And as in line with that, they've been watching very closely some of the very significant announcements with regard to the role of FHA, the Office of Single Family Housing, the work in the green space, and of course also multifamily housing. Are there any programs that you would like to highlight as far as their impact that in particular you're very proud of and the administration are very proud of?
You know, thanks for that. I am so fortunate to be surrounded by fabulous leaders, all of their own right, have had an impact in the industry even prior to their time here at the department. I mean, Commissioner Gordon is brilliant and an extraordinary at her job. Mary McFadden, who is at the helm of our CPD shop, who is continually putting out all the money we need to make sure that we're building and we're being thoughtful about planning clearly our fair housing shop. But let me center a little bit on what's been happening in our single family office. In addition to continuing to advocate for the housing counseling dollars that we need and just the funding that we need to do some of the creative things that the Biden-Harris administration is laser focused on, we've also been looking at some of the work that HUD can take on to make the home buying process make a little bit more sense, but also have common sense initiatives to try to make sure our access and that there's fair access for people who want to walk through those doors. Many of you, I'm sure, are already advising folks on the impact of the work we've done on our student debt and how we are looking at calculating student debt to making sure folks are eligible for our mortgage insurance. The work that we're doing and the changes that we made on looking at positive rental payments and how that history can help make sure that folks are getting the best deal that they can when it comes to their mortgage rates and access to HUD's mortgage insurance. The work that we are doing with down payment assistance. I don't have to tell this group the value of down payment assistance for people who might not have families with deep pockets or any pockets for that matter, in terms of being able to help. And sometimes if folks can pay their mortgage, that is just the linchpin to getting them across the line. And just a number of different things that we've done. Our loss mitigation that we put in place starting in 2021, because we have to help homeowners who are at risk as well to make sure that they're able to keep that asset and carry out their goal of having generational wealth. There's just so many common sense and smart things that the leaders here at HUD, including you, Dave, have put into place that I'm so, so very proud of. And we continue on that work.
Thank you, Madam Secretary, Acting Secretary. You know, in particular, it's a small thing, but it was a very significant thing when we talk about loss mitigation, how the Office of Single Family Housing and FHA, we did something with housing counseling that really now stands as an industry best practice. And that was the simple idea of an outreach letter from our own office to all of the consumers, mortgage holders who are more than 60 days behind in a payment. At the time, it was sort of viewed as, can we do this? It's precedential. Now it's become an applauded industry model. And I really compliment you and your leadership for supporting that effort because the response was overwhelmingly positive in the portfolio. And
You
I
know,
also
we have to do
appreciate, yeah,
everything we can, right?
yes.
We have to do everything. We can't just sit by and watch people's hopes just wither. I think that I see it as almost a moral imperative to carry out HUD's mission in a way that is people focused and not just focused on what our rules say, but how can we actually be part of the interaction to make sure that we're making those rules come to life.
Yeah, I applaud your focus on that. We're here to serve the American consumer, and we don't want to be a bureaucracy. We have work to do. And in your role of ensuring we realize all of HUD's strategic plan goals, you've been a great advocate, and you've kept us honest to all of HUD's mission goals. One of my goals, of course, is to serve more consumers through the work we do with our over 1,600 housing counseling groups across the nation. And we have a goal of serving over 3 million households a year. And I believe that part of our success in doing that is our new Make Home the Goal campaign,
Mhm.
as well as some of the innovation to update how our office operates with our agencies. And I know you have something to share with everyone today.
I know, absolutely. So, like I say, I lead, but I look to our leaders like David to come up with brilliant ideas and to create partnerships because so much of our work is really gelled in how we work collaboratively. So, big news today. We are announcing two initiatives. One is we are modernizing the housing counseling process. So just leaning in all of the innovations of IT and how people gather and how we look at each other and how we deal with each other in this new modern age. And we are modernizing housing counseling by providing an opportunity for folks to have alternative means of being counseled through the simple medium that I'm using right now, which is something that just seems like keep using the word common sense would be something that makes sense to do. And think about what that means in terms of opening up counseling opportunities for people who perhaps may be disabled and don't have limited mobility. Think about what this means for people in rural parts of America who don't have access to free and low cost quality housing counseling and the nexus that plays with some of the housing constraints and housing issues happening in rural America now, some of which parts of our country have never seen before. So I'm excited about this modernization, and I'm excited about what this means about the breadth and reach that we will all have for people who need our help the most. But in addition to that, we kicked off our campaign, Let's Make Home the Goal, but with a special partnership with Zillow. And they are going to be placing on their portal information about Let's Make Home the Goal to make sure that we are getting into as many homes as possible for folks who need to access the services that our funding provide and that you all carry out. And so I'm thrilled about that. I'm thrilled about the reach that that will bring. And, I travel this country all the time, Dave. I know you do too. And people don't know that housing counseling is something that's available to them, or they think they need to pay like thousands and thousands of dollars to access it. They don't know that their government is working for them and providing this service to them through all of you who are watching here with us today. So being able to have a simple action like just having information on a partner like Zillow who has a broad reach. I think we know the numbers of millions of people who are looking at their site every single day to be able to have folks know that their government is there for them. And we have this as a campaign, and we truly want them to be able to achieve their dream if that is something they want to do and they're ready for. It's just great. It's just great. And the more that we can make folks see the access that we provide to their dream it just warms my heart. So when this concept came to me and it was something that we had an opportunity to do, I thought, of course. And quite frankly, I think we welcome other partners too, don't we, David? Don't we think we welcome
Oh,
other partners who want to spread
absolutely.
the word?
Absolutely. And we're in active discussion, but I can't talk about that yet. I have to keep my lips sealed. But just to be clear for everyone, later today for Make Home the Goal, we have quite a few resources and announcements to share with you in a later session. Keep in mind, besides working with Zillow, which is amazing, the millions of consumers potentially we will touch, our own program in 42 metropolitan areas should reach about 8 million households this year. And with your work leveraging the campaign and co-branding with us in the housing counseling community, it could be a much higher number. This is our time, everyone. We've wished for years that we could elevate knowledge about the profession and elevate how people engage with us. It's happening, and it's happening with the support of our acting secretary and all of our partners in the housing finance and real estate industry. We look forward to it. And then for the modernization rule, it is now final. It is being published today. You are now permitted and urged to take advantage of multiple modalities, whether it be in person, whether it be telephonic or virtual or some combination of all of those. We want consumers to have choice in how they engage with you, and vice versa. We want you as agencies to have choice in how you would like to deliver services. All we ask is if a consumer asks for a service in a method that you may not provide, you do have a responsibility to refer that consumer to another agency in your service area. And thank you, everyone, because your comments and rulemaking made this a very, very strong next step for us.
Right, that's right. One of the things that the Biden-Harris administration has been so focused on, and the vice president and I have had this conversation, is there's so many things that we've been doing as an administration, not just at HUD, but elsewhere, U.S. Department of Agriculture, Veterans Affairs. There's so much that we've been doing to try to be more customer focused, and not just in our rulemaking, but like I mentioned earlier, just access to some of the great ideas that we put on the table and some of the funding that we've received that can help folks pursue their dreams. So the ability for us to reach the point of being able to now push that information out, get it into the hands of people who need it, is one of the things that I know the president and the vice president value, because they tell that to the cabinet all the time. How are we making sure that people know what's happening, the access that they have to all the things that we've been trying to provide over the past 3.5 years? So David, I want to thank you and your team for really helping achieve some of that true north by something this great. Seems very simple, but something this great that I know is going to make a difference in so many people's lives.
Thank you so much. And if I could ask one last question, maybe
Sure.
more personal on a professional level, but I think in so many ways, your role as our executive, as our acting secretary, is an example to all of us. So I was just at a program yesterday sponsored by one of our agencies, Home for USA in Minneapolis, and they had a program on leadership development. So here was a question that came up in that discussion that I'm going to throw your way, okay? Sure. You bring joy and you bring strategic thinking into your leadership role, and you're constantly on the move, engaging with community leaders, industry colleagues, speaking with the public and at industry trade associations. What drives you to keep up your high energy levels? What techniques do you apply?
Wow. I tend not to worry, right? Because if you're going to worry about something, then you better darn do something about it. And so while there's plenty of things that will break my day and say, oh my gosh, how will we ever build all the units that we need to build? How will we ever help the folks who need home ownership, or at least get information to them? How will we make sure that we're preserving all of our low income all of those things are huge challenges. But if I wake up every single day and I know that today I can do something about it, I can use the power that the United States Senate and the president have provided to me. If I can surround myself with extraordinary leaders who want to make sure we're building a better country, I wake up with joy because I know I can actually do something about it and not just worry. And that keeps me going, even when there's not a whole lot of joy to be had in certain moments of my day and my weeks. But I think about what's the next thing. And I also think about how much we all have similar than we have different from each other in terms of what we want. My parents worked hard and wanted to make sure that their baby girl got a great education and was able to thrive. And I think that is what everybody wants for their family. Absolutely everybody. They want to make sure that they're doing everything they can to make themselves whole, but to make sure their family is okay. I have yet to meet the one person who says, yeah, that's not in my bingo card. Everybody wants that. So if we channel that and think about what those core things are, sometimes it's home ownership, sometimes it's a job, sometimes it's other things, then I think we're going to be okay. because we have more in common than we think that we do. So that brings me hope and it brings me joy, David. And I certainly hope that you and your colleagues can feel empowered in carrying that out.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us. It really hit right here in the heart. So thank you, Madam Acting Secretary. We applaud your leadership and look forward to working with you to realize your vision for the nation and to implementing the bold actions that you envision at HUD to forge a stronger, more prosperous, and more equitable future. I also want to thank you for acknowledging the important role that the Office of Housing Counseling, as well as overall the Office of Housing, has in all of our unrelenting efforts to help expand housing security and opportunity in our nation. And then finally, for highlighting the importance of our new modernization rule and our partnership with Zillow, and of course our campaign to educate consumers nationwide to the availability of HUD certified housing counselors as trusted advisors. Thank you for taking time for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you, David. And thank you all out there. I'll see you out in the road. Bye-bye.
Wonderful. And I'll turn things back to ICF now. Shauna?
Text, Adrianne Todman, Acting Secretary of U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. David Berenbaum, Deputy Assistant Secretary, Office Housing Counseling, U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development.
Thank you so much, David. Really appreciate the conversation, also the exciting news, and also for Acting Secretary Todman for your leadership and your words around what it means in terms of the Zillow partnership that you folks just formed. So we wanted to remind everyone that we still have a few more sessions for today, in case you're just now joining us. Next, we have the new and trending. It's all about data. We have Chris Herbert coming from the Joint Center at Harvard. As David also mentioned, we will also have Let's Make Home the Goal coming up this afternoon. Really exciting time to get digital materials in your hands. And then also the national model standards. We'll talk about model industry standards as well this afternoon. And then, finish off the day with bingo. You don't want to miss that at 5. It'll be uproariously funny and fun with the advisory committee for HUD's Office of Housing Counseling. So just want to thank everyone so much, and we will see you at the next session.
Upcoming sessions. Chart. In the first column, session time. In the second column, session name. 1 o'clock to 2 p.m. EDT, new and trending. Policy and research impacting HCAs. 2:30 to 3:30 p.m. EDT, Let's Make Home the Goal. 4 o'clock to 5 p.m. EDT, National Industry Standards Update, What You Need to Know Now. 5 o'clock to 5:30 p.m. EDT, HCFAC Bingo with the 2024 Federal Advisory Committee. Thanks for attending. Visit the 2024 conference webpage, linked. Find us on the HUD Exchange Housing Counseling page, linked. Email us at housing.counseling@hud.gov, linked. Subscribe to Housing Counseling Today blog, linked. Text below. This material is based upon work supported, in whole or in part, by Federal Award Number C22TA00111 awarded to ICF from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. The substance and findings of the work are dedicated to the public. Neither the United States government, nor any of its employees, makes any warranty, express or implied, or assumes any legal liability or responsibility for the accuracy, completeness, or usefulness of any information, apparatus, product, or process disclosed or represents that its use would not infringe privately owned rights. Reference herein to any individuals, agencies, companies, products, process, services, service by trade name, trademark, manufacturer, or otherwise does not constitute or imply an endorsement, recommendation, or favoring by the authors, contributors, the U.S. government or any agency thereof. Opinions contained herein are those of the authors and do not necessarily reflect the official position of, or a position that is endorsed by, HUD or any federal agency. Logo, U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development.